I know some people will be listening or watching and saying, "Oh, come on, you guys are just scared of brown people, or you're just scared of anything that's not Christianity, or whatever it might be." But we have started. I mean, I would advise those people to check out Mothin Ali, who is the guy who just became a counselor, who is just yelling Allahu Akbar, and with some other Islamists. And I suppose I would differentiate Islamists from Muslims because Islamists seem to, the yelling and shouting. If I saw a bunch of Jews doing that, I'd also be a bit like, "What? You've just taken a seat representing the English people who are primarily not Jewish, and you're shouting stuff in Hebrew." I would be going, "What are you doing? What are you doing? Like, this is just so divisive. This is ridiculous." Or if I got a seat in Poland, and I'm shouting in English, like, why would I do that if I'm looking after the Polish people or whatever it might be? But people should look that up. Go on, what were you going to say?
I just, in London, I drove through a Jewish community, a Jewish neighborhood, and very well known. You drive through there, and what you see is just religious and Jewish population living there. And currently, at the moment, the only concern that they have when it comes to these major crazy politics is, will we be safe here? That's one of the major concerns that they have because of the way things are going right now.
Yeah,
let's look out for our safety, for each other's safety. They're not going out and saying, "Oh, look, we have a neighborhood, we have high numbers, we should now do something to take over." The major concern on the religious Islamic side is not will we be safe here. It is how can we change things in such a way that offending our beliefs is no longer allowed and is severely punishable here in the UK? How can we change the laws of the UK and make it more Islamic? How can we make it so that we can do whatever we want in the UK, and so on? And this is not an accusation. It's not a conspiracy theory. This is you can see it if you just interact with the Islamist organizations or Islamist speakers and apologists directly. You can ask them, and they will tell you. I asked them, and they told me, and I have it all out there on my YouTube channel, in public. It's everywhere. I also grew up with this whole idea that as religious Muslims, and yes, I want to separate between just regular Muslims and then religious Muslims or Islamists. If you are a religious Muslim, you basically become an Islamist. The regular average Muslim is just a cultural Muslim who doesn't necessarily subscribe to Islamist views. But if you are a religious Islamic person, the belief is you have to live in an Islamic environment, in an Islamic society, or you have to help turn the place that you are in into an Islamic society where Islam is basically in charge. Because in Islam, there are two forms of two values that may rule over you. One is Islam, and the other is corruption or war. So they separate between Dar al-Islam, which means house of Islam, and Dar al-Harb, which means house of war. A place that is not Islamic is by definition a place of war and is corrupt. And you are supposed to change that place into an Islamic place to make it better. So from their perspective, it's like you are going to a place that is bad, that is sick, that is dark, and you have to change it to make it all green, Islamic, in order to do the will of Allah.
Interesting.
That is the purpose.
Because I think a lot of people dislike the Jews because the Jews are so uninterested in evangelizing. They're just like, we're doing our thing here. We don't want you as part of it.
Just leave us alone.
We're very exclusive and don't want anyone else in the group. And if you want to convert, that's no easy. I mean, I know some people who have, and it's no easy thing. But
yeah, I mean, the Orthodox Jewish perspective is even that if you want to convert to Judaism, you are thoroughly questioned and even discouraged. Like, why would you want to convert? Why would you want to do this?
Oh man! So I saw this Mothin Ali. I saw all the people around. They're all jumping around and just acting crazy. And then there's one woman who's just a white blonde woman, also happy, but she then gets crowded out. They like go in front of her, and she's now at the back. But she was like, helped this happen, and she's so proud and all of that. Now we've seen this is the Green Party. You won't be surprised to know is the left. We've seen this happen before in Iran, right? This is what happened. The leftists. Yes. So what happened there?
Very, very important, very crucial point. I think people who want to understand the insanities of the left and their collaboration with Islamists should really look into what happened in Iran. So during the Islamic Revolution of Iran, what happened is that communist, socialist movements, leftist movements worked together with the Islamist movement, which was the biggest one, to counter the monarchy, which was depicted as evil and oppressive and vilified, and was like all kinds of conspiracy theories were made about them. And sure, they had their faults. They had their faults. Monarchies that are ruled in such a way, like the way it was in Iran, are bound to get into problems with authority and resistance from within. But what the leftists did there was to collaborate with the Islamists in hopes to establish a democracy and finally be able to elect their own parties, get rid of this seemingly absolute monarchy, and establish hope for the future. And it was basically, the propaganda was, we will finally be able to give the people a voice. It will be for the people, for all of us, for freedom, no longer submission to the Shah, and so on. And the socialists and communists reluctantly but thoroughly worked with the Islamists and helped them with the revolution. But as soon as the revolution succeeded, as soon as they got rid of the monarchy of the Shah, as soon as they threw them out, the Islamists took control of the situation. So what happens is, of course, the Islamists succeed, and they think, okay, guys, we have to be very quick. There is a vacuum. We just overthrew the government. We now have to take power and make sure that all the other factions listen to us and go our way, because we know what's up. So the Islamists take over, take the lead, and immediately start outlawing the ideas that the others who helped them stand for and support, locking them up, making all kinds of allegations about them, saying preventive measures to lock them up, and begin executing them. Oh. In fact, the president of Iran, who just died in a helicopter crash, Ibrahim Raisi, he was on a council that did come into existence almost 10 years after the revolution, but was still part of that whole series of events. He was on a council of only 4 people who oversaw the judgments, the persecution and execution of thousands of people.
Did you see what the BBC said about him?
Mixed legacy.
His mixed legacy, yeah.
It's like, imagine the BBC wrote an article about Hitler after his death and said, here is the mixed legacy of Adolf Hitler.
Or the mixed legacy of Jimmy Savile.
Yeah. Because that guy sat on a board for the Islamist revolution and executed thousands, if not 10,000s of, by the way, of socialists, Kurdish minorities, socialists, communists, people who helped them with the revolution. They made sure to get rid of them, to chop them up, to let the blood flow so that nobody can oppose their Islamic rule anymore. And this is how they are. And now all leftist, democratic, liberal people coming out of Iran, after of course fleeing the country, have become aware and are very, very much anti-Islam, which is why you will see that around the world, the Iranian diaspora is one of the most anti-Islamic and most anti that bloc at the moment, most pro-Israel at the moment, for example, so on.
It's just crazy that I remember at school, like history lessons, we learned about the Nazis, and that was like it. So I just was armed with this understanding of, don't be right wing, and that was it. There was no understanding of like, sometimes the people who think they're the good guys, and you might be wrong. And how have these people on the left now? They've not seen history, and they're still supporting this.
It's so naive. It's like we could talk forever about where that comes from and why that happens. I guess there is in left-leaning politics, especially among the younger people, there is this sense of being compassionate and just looking out for those guys who are seemingly being mistreated and oppressed. And of course, if you are in the West, then the Muslims, especially after 9/11, are the ones who are being who are marginalized, who are the minority, who are oppressed, and this and that. So therefore, we should look out for them, we should help them, we should side with them, and so on. What they don't realize is, yes, at some point they are a minority, but once you keep fostering them, if you keep fostering them and helping them rise up and up and up, they will eventually rise higher and higher and higher, take advantage of the situation, and eventually become worse than whatever you have opposed here. The right wing, the religious factions, the conservatives, the Christians, they're nothing compared to what you are feeding there. Because just look at the Islamic world. In the Islamic world, Islam is not this poor, cute little minority. Islam is the authoritarian, the totalitarian, the sick, relentless, messed up rule that lynches, locks up, kills people, beats them into submission, and so on. It's worse over there than anything you have seen here in the UK or in the US. And yet you guys keep ignoring it when you are told about it, and you think, oh no, that's all just racism. It's all just, you just don't like brown people.
Yeah. Despite having no issue with Hindus, Sikhs, nobody cares. Do what you want. Really bizarre. I want what you just said to be written on like in every school textbook for people to just understand that. And that Hitchens quote as well, the barbarians never take a city until someone holds the gate open for them.
I love that bit that he
I say that like 10 times a day. I like look in the mirror. I'm like brushing my teeth. The barbarians never take a city. Someone has to hold a gate open for them. I'm like, wow, what an amazing mind. I don't know if he was the first person to say that. I don't know.
He was one of the best. I so often look at the world right now and think, I wish Christopher Hitchens was here right now and he would say something about what's going on. I wonder what he would say about the current the current trajectory of religion and all that in the UK, the US, the West.
Man, what can we do to stop this happening? This alliance of the left and political Islamism. You're not allowed to say nothing.
The issue is, it's not just the left.
Yeah.
It's also, for example, in Germany, the major party that fed this whole thing of treating Islam and Islamic minorities and movements with kids' gloves and saying, oh, we just need to do our best to accommodate them and all that. That wasn't the left. It was the supposed Christian Conservative Party. It was Merkel's party. It was the Christian Democratic Union. It wasn't leftists who did that. It was the conservatives in charge.
Interesting.
Right now, during this whole Israel-Hamas war, you have leftists and socialists and all that standing up for the Islamists, but you also have a very, very big part of right-wingers that are very hard to ignore at the moment, who have a big problem with Jews and who say, oh yeah, the Muslims, they're not as bad. We have to focus on the Jews. We should be uniting against the Jews.
Yeah. In case there's a YouTube person who wants to ban us or something, Apostate Prophet is saying what other people say.
Yes.
He's not saying the thing.
No.
But you're right, and he's got a Hebrew thing saying, "Bring them home now."
for the hostages.
Absolutely. Well, they put the 3 brackets as well. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Every time I go on anything vaguely conservative, particularly in America, I think there's more of that far right stuff. It's all, oh, Jew, and they got the 3 brackets, or Andrew, 3 brackets, gold, and all of this stuff. It's absolutely mad.
It's ridiculous. I am being accused daily nowadays of, I'm saying it already, accused of being a Jew, like it's a horrible thing. And look at you.
Well, it would be if you were sneakily doing it and pretending you weren't to push forward an agenda. I suppose that is an accusation. I think you can say that.
Yeah. But it's funny. They come like, oh, you're a Jew. We can see it.
I suppose you could be Jewish.
Maybe.